p.m. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Consideration of approving the minutes from the public meeting held July 26, 2022 as presented. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. King?
I'll second.
And Mrs. Pratt seconds. Are there any comments or questions? Not seeing any, I'll go ahead and call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. The next item on the agenda is election of the president and secretary for the new fiscal year. I will accept a motion for the offices of president and secretary. A motion that is pursuant to the bylaws of the Vail Charter School, Inc. Board of Directors. Actually, I'll accept a motion. Typically, we have mirrored the regular governing board for leadership. It does not have to be that way, but traditionally that is how it's been. That. So there's a motion for Allison Pratt
Nomination
to be president and a second for by Mr. Buster. Okay, so any comments or questions about that? Not seeing any. I'll go ahead and call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries. Next item on the agenda is election of the secretary for the Vail Charter Schools, Inc. Board of Directors. Is there a motion?
I will make a motion to that Callie Tippett serves as the secretary of the corporation.
Second.
Mrs. Pratt moves, Mr. King seconds. I'll go ahead. Any comments or questions? Not seeing any. I'll go ahead and call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries. I will go ahead and accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Mr. King moves, Mr. Buster seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries.
Perhaps before we start the regular meeting, if I could just provide a quick moment of clarity for people in the audience on what we were doing, because it feels unusual. For those that have been around for a while, this is an annual process that we go through. In the early 2000s, we needed to get creative to be able to finance our charter school construction, capital project for charter schools. At that time, charter schools were, school districts were able to have charter schools, but the restraints around procurement limited the number of years that school districts could enter into a loan and a loan repayment. And so we needed to get creative in that process to build a facility for Savano Charter School, which at the time we were literally renting space in a house in the neighborhood of Savano community. And with our attorney guidance at the time and some creativity with our finance team and superintendent at the time, and the board created a corporation, which became the Vail Charter Corporation, that had the backing of the charter asset as the collateral, and allowed for the procurement of a loan that had longer terms. So I believe, if I remember correct, it was a 15-year note that was repaid. Actually had balloon payments at that point. So and then several years later, the legislature and governor removed or took away the ability for districts to have charter schools. So Savano School and our other charter schools are just funded as traditional mechanisms that all of our other schools are. And at that point, we were able to use some additional funds and we paid off the remaining balance of the loan for the building that Savano now occupies. We have kept the Vail Charter School Inc. Corporation alive, though. The primary, even though there's no assets in there and it has no other function, as a potential vehicle, it's just a tool in the toolbox if there were a need to use that again, if the need arose and the situation required us to look at loan terms beyond what school districts can utilize. So in order to do that, all corporations need to have on the books officers every year. The officers mirror the board. So that's what you just watched. So just wanted to give that explanation as you're sitting there and why we do that. So with that, regular meeting.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Ruth. At this time, I will call the meeting to order, the regular meeting to order at 7:08. I would like to ask for you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our next item is approval of minutes for the regular meeting on July 11th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
To approve as presented.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Buster and seconded by Ms. Tippett. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. We'll move on to our general function section. Our first item is staff, student, and community recognitions. Mr. Cruz?
Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board.
I got you all confused.
You
there.
did. I got tangled up there for a second. We have a few principals and directors and assistant superintendents who have recognitions today, starting with Mr. Parks, followed by Mrs. Penn.
President Pratt, Mr. Ruth, and members of the board. First off, I wanted to thank all the students, staff, and parents for a smooth start to the year. I know it's only our second day, but it's really been smooth and everything seems to be going well. Even the pickup drop off today was great because Mr. Carrier said 3:55, we're out, because that's always a bonus. We get it under 4. So everything's going well that way. I'd like to recognize our front office staff for the work they did over the summer, but also for our check-in and registration dates. So just to name them: Tony White, who's new for us, Tasha Heyman, Kathy Ochoa, Debbie Peck, Mari Abeda, Karen Eshelman, Stacy Brockla, and our nurse Brenda Hernandez for all the vision and hearing checks that she had to go through too. So that was an amazing job by them. Also like to recognize our counselors, specifically Gori Banal, Aaron Townsend, and Ryan Lee for their work for the week right now and the week before to get the master schedule all in order and get all the schedules done for the kids. There's just a few left to do, but we're pretty much done and kids are on their way and in the right classes, which is always a bonus. Shout out to our amazing PTA because they provided a spaghetti dinner for our freshman parent information night dinner. So that was great. And they were a little surprised because we had RSVPs and we had about 80, and of our 255 freshmen, 230 parents showed up. So we had to do a quick run to the Roadrunner and get some more spaghetti noodles, but we made it. So that was really awesome of them. And I wanted to thank them. I'd like to recognize Rita Boyd, Elaine Murphy, Melissa Matias, and Jasmine McWilliams for putting on a technology PD for our teachers and our in-service days. They did a great job. They even went into AI, all those different things. Yeah. Power School, Schoology, and they did a great job just to get our teachers up and going. I'd also like to recognize Ethan Hurley. In the same time, he did an ACT PD for some of our specialists because a lot of our English and math and science teachers are already ACT certified, but we went through with all of our specialists and elective teachers to be able to, so that they can be on board and help us out with the ACT and help our kids. Like to recognize Preston Jones and the Living Branch Church for their willingness to come in over the weekend when it was really hot and help us clean up and get everything done before teachers reported. So they did some painting, they did some pressure washing, they did some weeding, they did a bunch of stuff. And he brought in a bunch of kids and he organized and facilitated, so much so that we weren't there either. None of us could be there because we were on vacations during that 4th of July that weekend. And so he coordinated the whole thing. It was great. Finally, I'd like to recognize Ron Haymore, Jerry Wood, and their crew for their construction projects that they've been doing at Andrada to help out with a lot of the CTE things. One of the big projects they're working on right now is installing bleachers out at our soccer field. So we bought some bleachers with the bond money. And so they're installing that themselves, which saved the school and the district about $35,000 because that's how much it was going to be charged to install. A special shout out to a specific maintenance facilities is Sean Garcia. He came in the night before our parent information night to patch and paint and clean up a bunch of walls. And he just was awesome. And he was on it. Talked to Mr. Wood about it too. And he's just an amazing individual. I also wanted to thank one more person, and Jim Nelson. So Jim Nelson is our auto teacher, but on the side, he's also our site counselor, site resident, but on the side, he also helps install a bunch of stuff for us. So before the teachers got there, the first day on Monday, he installed whiteboards and projectors and TVs and just making sure, especially for those new teachers, that everything was up and ready right when they got there. So it was nice for them to see and be welcome to a nice new shiny projector or TV or whiteboard. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Mrs. Penn, followed by Mrs. Pinkerton.
Good evening, President Pratt, Mr. Caruth, and members of the board. The startup of the school year has been absolutely spectacular. I had the privilege of visiting most of our campuses on their first day of school. I would like to recognize every single principal and their staff, and there are a few that I would like to call out specifically. I didn't have this in my notes, but I have to just go ahead and say it because I did this during a leadership meeting, was to recognize Dean Norris for just the reaction that kids have when he walks in the room. They absolutely love him. What I do have in my notes is I also wanted to recognize Julia Kaiser. When I walked onto that Old Vale campus this year, before the bell even rang, it was beautifully organized. The campus looked beautiful. Adults were out with signs, "Can I help you?" They were all wearing the same clothing. It was just really, really easy for students to feel confident that they were going to get to where they needed to go. It was beautiful. I'd also like to recognize Lainey Kitzmiller. She had a fabulous startup to the school year. I want to recognize her though, because she is just incredibly thoughtful, and she thinks through the details of anything that is happening, whether it's a conversation in our leadership group or if it's something on her campus. She's always thinking through to the impact it's going to have and making sure that she's asking the questions so that she can provide the information and the support that she needs. And her questions help everyone to do a better job. I'd like to recognize also Shannon King. As we've started up the school year, new teacher induction is a huge lift, and Shannon supports Megan so beautifully with making sure all of the communication is done, all of the resources and materials are ready. She works with all of the different departments, and she does this in just a very quiet, in the background way. But without her, it would just not be as smooth as it is. I'd also like to recognize Sandy Hessel. She works in HR, and she's been helping with some of the PARs, and her attention to detail and her kind, respectful, professional way that she goes through that process and gathers any additional information just makes it absolutely a fabulous support. I have two more. I'd like to recognize Alexa Kershey from the BT department. Alexa, she is always smiling, always helpful, but she's managing. I can't even imagine all of the, I tried in my head to think through all of the things that she does, and I can't even put that list together. I know she helps with budget. I know that with all of these visits that the BT team does, she's organizing all of the communication with the other outside districts. She's managing all of the travel. She's managing all of the, processing all of the paperwork that goes, and she just does a beautiful job with that. And finally, I don't know who is responsible for those beautiful, beautiful concrete floors at Andrada, but whoever it was from the maintenance department, and maybe someone can help me with the name, when I walked into Andrada, the shine and the gleam on those beautiful floors just makes it look like a showcase school. And that work makes a difference to students and to parents, to families and to staff who are working there. And that was a job very well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Penn. Mrs. Pinkerton.
President Pratt, Mr. Kruth, members of the board. I'd like to start off by recognizing our Vail technology team led by Mark Breen. Even though I know they were super busy with getting things rolled over for the new school year and helping sites get ready for that rollover, they never cease to amaze me with their response time. When I call somebody like Veronica Preciado and say, I need help, something's wrong with our testing system, she jumps right in. I'm sure she doesn't drop everything she's doing because I think she's still doing all of that stuff, but she jumps right in and helps me get things going so that the first Friday of the school year, we have formatives ready and kids able to log in. Or somebody like Norm Purdy, who I always call to ask, what if we could try this? And he will just give me that straight up answer with, that's not gonna work, or maybe we could try it like this. And so Mark has a great team with him, and they are always willing to help us out with whatever we need to make sure we can do what's best for students. I'd also like to recognize Andrea Garbett, the Savano School Coordinator, Rachel Tankersley, the Coordinator for Vail Virtual, and Kristen Murray, the Coordinator for Vail Blended and Vail Innovation Center. All three of those ladies spent countless hours, days over the summer getting things ready to open up those 3 sites, and started off the year with tours for new families so that we can increase enrollment, supporting teachers, new teachers in setting up their classrooms, training new staff, and just making sure everything was ready for the first day of school. I'd also like to recognize Mikkel Green and Elaine Murphy. They organized and ran a wonderful high school summer school this year. They had over 1,000 credits that were earned by students in just over 4 weeks of time. I actually looked at it, it was exactly 4.5 weeks of time. So 1,000 credits were earned. 800 of those were credits that were earned for students to get ahead. So wanted to work ahead so that they had rooms in their schedules. And over 200 of those were for credit recovery. So classes that students needed to recover credit for. As you can imagine, the workload to accomplish that feat was large, and the 2 of those ladies handled it with grace and made sure that kids were successful. And then lastly, I'd like to recognize the entire HR team led by Katie Dabney for all of their work to make sure staffs were ready to go. Schools were fully staffed for the school year. I'm not sure if I'm the only principal director that does this, but sometimes I might email somebody like Ali Armenta or Sandy Hessel and say, I'm not sure who this is supposed to go to, and they always seem to help me out, whether they send me in the right direction or whether they just help me out with the question, but people answer, they get things done just so that we can make sure that we're fully staffed. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pinkerton. I just want to, it's hard to improve upon the words that have been said about the smoothness of the start of this year. I do want to just share a slide with you quick that we did in our leadership meeting today. I asked the question, one word to all of our leaders to describe the start of your school year, and that's what came up. I want to share that as affirmation that it isn't just the people that are here. It is widely felt by our leadership team. We are off to a really good and healthy start this year. I think I'll leave it at that. Other than to say, for schools to open well on time, with staff to be able to greet them, students and their families, and welcome them, it requires an incredible team effort that starts literally months before that. And it is the trusting of each other that we will arrive at that spot together, prepared and ready to go, whether it's transportation, facilities and maintenance, grounds, the business office, HR, our site staffs, any of those staffs, everyone in those departments, special education, technology, they have to be ready to go. And we all arrived at the spot on time. And it's incredibly good. I've been saying it. You all watch the vacancy list that comes out for several years. It's been multiple pages. And if you simply remove the coaches, which is this is the time of year where we're hiring a lot of coaches, we're down about 2/3 of a page of vacancies. I was doing the math last night, and we have roughly 2,100 positions across the district, and we've got about 40 open positions. That's it, less than 2% vacancy for an organization with over 2,000 employees. That is incredible. And that's, again, a testament to what HR is doing, our leaders, but a testament to the value and draw of the Vail School District. So, simply want to say thank you to every staff member who leaned into getting at the spot at the right time to make the school year start so well. That's all we have for staff, student, and community recognitions this evening.
Thank you. Our next two agenda items are call to the public and acknowledgement of public requests to speak. This time I do not have any requests from the public to speak to the board. Are there any persons present wishing to speak to the board? Not seeing any, we'll move on to correspondence and reports. Our first item is superintendent's report. Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board. Excellent presentation. I've lost my spot here, so give me a second to get back on that. I simply want to call attention to our all staff gathering, which is this coming Monday. I know we've sent this out, and I sent an email out to all staff, including you earlier today as a reminder. We are changing venues. This will be the fourth new venue in 4 years. So we hope to have a repeat at this site next year if it all goes well. We'll be at the U of A Centennial Hall. Program starts promptly at 8:30 and runs through about 3:30 in the day. And so all the logistics are there, but I'm really excited about the programming that we have for the day, including all of our normal celebrations and messages and celebrations of years of service, which I think are really powerful. We have several, I think over 100 people are getting recognized for 10 and 15 years of service this year. And a stack of people getting 20 and 25 years is also really thick. It's really fun to see. In addition to all of those things, we also have a unique opportunity to bring in a nationally renowned speaker, Sean Acor, who's an expert in positive psychology and has worked with corporations around the globe, and as well as school districts. So I'm really excited about his message in the afternoon. So just want to call attention to that. That's all I have for superintendent's report this evening.
Thank you. Our next item is board reports. Do any board members wish to give a report at this time? Mr. King? Ms. Tippett?
Sure, thank you. I just want to echo the sentiments that have already been shared today about the smooth start to the school year. I also want to send a shout out to the community for facilitating that smooth start with patience on the roadways and helping sure that our buses travel safely and our students get to their schools safely, and hopefully with a little bit of patience in your heart. I'm grateful for that. I'm very grateful for all the staff and the hard work that went into starting this school year off, and just feeling like we're on track. We're done carrying an extra weight, is what it really feels like, and that we now have the ability to just really charge forward, reaching some of those goals that we've been talking about, wanting to accomplish for the last several years and just haven't had the bandwidth to touch. My kiddo had an excellent first couple of days, and for the first time in my parenting of starting kids off in school, I don't have a kid in K-8, and I'm a little sad to be missing out on all the fun energy and braids and ponytails and bears that get brought to school and all of that, but just really pleased at how everything has gone so far for our schools and for our community. So thank you for everybody who's contributed to that.
Thank you, Ms. Tippett. Mr. King?
So I wanted to, I did finish the NTI for the high school teachers the week before. That was a lot of fun. And it was interesting because there was a couple staff that were becoming teachers, and they were like, "Why are you in here?" So, and it was actually it was kind of fun being that little secret shopper in there, but also seeing what all of our teachers go through to become a teacher in Vail, because I reached out to some friends of mine in my former community, and a lot of districts don't do what we do here. So that's a testament to the culture that we have here in Vail. So thank you to the community and the district for actually building that culture that, is not representative of what we see out there. Additionally, I forgot to thank our bus drivers at the last meeting, Art and Harold was both of the bus drivers, and the last one we had, Harold, there was the air conditioner broke right as we're out of New Pantano, so that was actually fabulous. But we got a new bus when we got to Andrada, and everything worked out great. And then I got a note from one of our teachers, about an Empire student. Ian Lemus was one of 13 students nationwide to be selected to play in the Marucci World Series tournament at LSU. So, and he will be, I guess, back sometime this week, but I wanted to give him a shout out for that.
It's wonderful.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Mhm.
Any other board reports? Mr. Bester?
Well, I had the opportunity to go to a work conference approximately 2 weeks ago. And during this really big work conference down in San Diego, there were 30,000 individuals that were represented at this particular meeting. I was really taken aback by the amount of information. So of course I had to share it. And I appreciate the patience of our chief of technology as well as our superintendent, because I shared that copiously on a regular and consistent basis, but really geeking out over all things that are geospatial, GIS, everything to do with mapping. And again, during the 7-day conference, I had the opportunity to see how young students of San Diego adapt to different levels of technology, including AI, and spend a lot of time with them, shared business cards with people worldwide. But honestly, the best part was to see young people actually engaging in technology and learning how the world works, learning what happens in the world when you don't take care of it. And it was just really phenomenal to see these young people and sharing what Vail Unified School District does on a consistent basis, sharing what our vision and passion is as a community with worldwide organizations, industry, private, public, it didn't matter, and seeing smiles on people's faces when I get to share the phenomenal family that is Vail. So I want to just show my appreciation to the entire district, to every educator for what you do each and every day, in comparison to what other folks do around the world. It's nice to be able to say we are doing phenomenal things to educate and better our communities and ultimately better the world. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Bester. Any other board reports? Okay. I wanted to recognize a few people. I wanted to first recognize Caden Anderson. He made a really wonderful back to school video, and it was so fun to watch, and just that he captured really every role that has to be done to get get students in school. And I loved watching that, and I loved seeing the connection. There was one shot where a student came up and just gave a real big bear hug to the SRO. It looked like at Cienega. And I just love, first of all the preparation, the kind of administrative things that need to happen, the cleaning of desks and different things. But then when kids are on campus, those relationships that happen on campus. So it was captured in a 1 or 2 minute video. It was super fun to see. I also wanted to recognize Jerry Brown and his leadership at the transportation department. He's just done a phenomenal job, and just so exciting that things are running so smoothly there. I also wanted to recognize, on a personal level, Mark Mullins from technology. He has, my son has shadowed him for his SEP, and it was a great experience for my son. He really, I think, helped him see really what the job really is. It made my son really excited about different aspects. He would go home and Google things and learn more about different aspects. So I just think that the SEP program is so amazing, and it gives kids an opportunity to know, are these jobs that I actually want to do or not? It could save you years of college to go down that path and realize, actually, this isn't for me. Or this is for me. So I just appreciate him taking that time. I know it's not easy to have a 16-year-old following you for 20 hours. So I appreciate him. I also, one of the days I was dropping him off, got a quick tour of the new technology wing from Mr. Breen, and it was a great opportunity to just see the amazing things that are happening. Usually with technology, we don't really know that they're there unless things are going wrong, which that's not usually the case in Vail. You guys do such a great job, so thank you. And then last, I just wanted to recognize, I know most of the schools are having site council elections, and it's such an important role in our community. It takes a lot of time. So I just want to recognize everybody who's putting themselves out there. It's not easy to do that. And so everybody who's running for a site council, I'm wishing them the very best of luck and want to thank them for doing that. We will move on now to the consent agenda. All items listed below are consent matters and will be considered by one motion at this time. There will be no discussion of consent items. Any board member may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. All items not accepted and approved as part of the consent agenda will be considered individually. Do any board members wish to pull an item? Mr. Cruz?
Thank you, President Pratt. Members of the board, it's recommended that the Vail School District Governing Board approve all items on the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
Mr. Buster and then Mr. King, I think, right? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to old business. The only item in this section is the construction update. Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board. As you've heard, there's been a lot of work going on around the schools and in particular with construction. So I asked Mr. Wood to give us kind of a regular one of his regular check-ins and see where we are in the progress of all of those projects. So Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz, President Pratt, members of the board. Yep, lots of things going on as you've seen driving around the district. So I'd like to hit on a few of these items with you. As you saw at the last board meeting, well, one, the roof is under construction here at the district office, but you also got to see the holes that were in the roof at our last board meeting. So we've been working on repairing some of those of the old section, but it was also a great test for the roofing company to see where were some of the items that they need to take care of on the new sections of the roof. Wanted to remind you just of the phasing of the roofing project here at the district office. We did change it up a little bit, that we're currently in phase 4, that purple section in the middle of the page there. Phases 1, 2, and 3 have been completed. Phase 4, we have completed, they have completed the top section of phase 4. We're to the end of the building here. They're going to be working on this lower section. In the next picture, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. Here's an aerial view. You can tell about half of the building is got the new roof on it. In the middle, you can see where it steps down a little bit. It's the most difficult section that we're going to be dealing with over the next 6 weeks or so. And so that's where the big leaks were happening that you saw a couple weeks ago. But you can tell that they're doing a great job, and we'll be very excited to have all of it done. And you can see the old boardroom at the top right corner of the screen there. That has been completed as well. At the same time, new air conditioning units have been put back up onto the new roof. So the units that we had up there were pretty old and on their last legs. So. Site fencing and security, we've been doing this district-wide. We had completed Corona Foothills and Sycamore Elementary. Old Vail has been completed. Acacia has been completed. We're doing some punch items at that school. Sonita Valley, we're getting ready to do a punch walk at that school here soon, probably by the end of the week. And they wanted to actually start last Monday at Desert Willow, and I told them no. Kendra wouldn't have, or Mrs. Forgas would not have been too excited about that. So they started yesterday at Desert Willow. Wanted to show you just a quick picture of Acacia. Being a former principal at Acacia, I had always wanted the purple awning to be acacia blue, and it is now acacia blue. Mr. Campos worked really hard at that as well. And that campus looked beautiful. All the interior covered walkways are all the acacia blue now. And just for your information, the blue color is called acacia blue. That's how it's named at the paint shop.
We always thought it was cowboy.
Yeah. But you can see the new fencing at the front of the school there too is up to our standard. Here's a shot of Sonita Valley. Sonita Valley at the front of the school had already had the fences at the appropriate height that we had requested, but the rest of the school didn't. So now the rest of Sonita Valley is up to our standard as well. We're doing a lot of kitchen projects right now at 4 different schools. I only have pictures of one of them, and this is Acacia. We're going to be installing a walk-in fridge freezer, and what you see there is a covered canopy to be able for the staff to be able to take the goods in and out of that walk-in fridge freezer. Acacia is the only school we have that doesn't have interior. They just have reach-in refrigerators and freezers. So this will provide them with that same scale that the other schools have. And I will tell you, being once again former principal at Acacia for a long time and serving students lunch out of that kitchen, they now have air conditioning, whereas swamp cooler for years and forever since 1990. So they're excited there too. The other schools that are getting the kitchen renovations are Old Vale Middle School, Empire High School, and Cienega High School. We're waiting on the equipment to arrive. So that's why there's not really any pictures for me to show you of that yet. But as soon as the equipment arrives and it's installed, I can provide you with those pictures. Portables at Micah Mountain High School. They look great we're talking about portables. They're not ground up construction, and we did the best we could to make it fit within that campus and the culture of that campus. We think it turned out really well. Mr. Hassey and Mr. Campos and team were excited about expanding the campus a little bit, and we're hoping that it's a temporary solution for what's happening there at Micah. But we did the best we could to make it fit right in with the rest of the campus. It kind of actually looks fake in the picture with the furniture there, but it's not. That is how it looks. And that's how it ties into the rest of the campus. And just a reminder, 2 of those buildings are leased portables, and 1 of them is a purchased portable for our district. Maintenance storage building, something we've been waiting on for quite some time, with some long lead times on material. And then we had a concrete issue. Well, now we actually have a building that has gone up, and they've actually erected it pretty quickly once they had the materials and we're able to start moving forward. A pretty big space for us to be able to get a lot of the things we've been either storing here at the district office or the maintenance building over off of Old Vale Road or in between the tracks. So it's going to be a welcome addition for the guys. We were able to work on Cienega and VIP's parking lot. What we did at Cienega, it's basically a slurry seal for the parking lot. However, there were a number of spots, and I'm sure every single one of you have driven through that parking lot and hit a pothole or two. All of those were cut out and down to grade and reconstructed, so that didn't get the slurry like the rest of the parking lot did. It was rebuilt. This front area, it would always become a lake when it rained, and now that the retention bay, you can see the retention basin that was cut in at the lower part of your screen there. That will fill up with water now instead of having it there at the exit. We are having one problem there, and I'm currently dealing with the county on that to help get their help with rectifying the situation is there's a lot of dirt that piles up now at our exit because it's coming off of areas that are not part of our property. So we're going to be working with them on trying to get a remedy for that situation. This is directly over VIP. VIP had a section that went down that entire strip of their parking area and drive-through that was just really bad. So that entire section actually got cut out, and that's new asphalt. And then the rest of it is a slurry seal on top of that. Old Vale Middle School, I'm really proud about Old Vale, you know, our oldest school in the district. And we've done, it has a new roof, has a new weatherization paint job. It has, the portables were all renovated. Just done a really good job, in my opinion, with that school. Has a brand new admin and library building up front. And then there was this restroom building in the middle of campus that was pretty old and looked really bad. So we went ahead and renovated that this summer. And here's what it looks like now. So we did, the floor is kind of like a like an epoxy chip floor. So we did that. Our custodial department did that. Our maintenance department did, you know, the painting and the plumbing. And then we worked with a contractor on doing the doors and the sink bases, and did an outstanding job with those. You can see some of the detail. They did a patinaed look to it to make it fit the area. You can see how before the privacy just wasn't great. And now they have that privacy for when they go to use the restrooms, and hopefully show that respect to the new facility as well. If you've been on Old Vale's campus, there was this section that had railroad tie steps that went down to the portable area. And while it was kind of rustic and whatnot, and it kind of was something that had just been there for a long time, it wasn't necessarily the best or safest way for kids to get down to their classrooms. So we went ahead and took care of that problem as well. So now they have a much safer access to the portable area, and a way to keep kids on track going back up. That's my construction update. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there any comments or questions? Mr. Buster.
Just well done across the spectrum. I remember going through many of these schools and seeing how dilapidated certain areas were, and now not just a fresh new coat of paint, but a fresh feel. So building that culture, building that brand, making sure people understand that our schools are to be respected. That is phenomenal.
Thank you, Mr. Buster.
Ms. Anderson.
I was just gonna say thanks. You know, I just, I've walked those schools, so those areas that you talked about, and I just, even those railroad ties, just to see the change and seeing Acacia, you know, my kids have gone to many of these schools, and just, anyway, just love seeing all of it. So thank you. Thanks for the work you do.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Any other comments or questions? I'm pretty sure, we'll have to check on this, but I'm pretty sure that Connie Erickson probably had something to do with that naming and Acacia deal.
I'm fairly certain that Mr. Wood had something to do with that. Cowboy blue.
I just remember sitting next to her at the anniversary celebration, and she was very enthusiastically singing the song. It was really cute. Can you remind me how many classrooms were added with those portables at Mica Mountain? I can't remember.
We added 6.
6.
There's
Okay.
2 per class.
Two per class.
Two
Okay.
per portable.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad that you said that they was real, because the first picture looked like a rendering, and then I was like, maybe that's real. Anyways, it was kind of funny how that worked out. Thank you so much. You are working on so many things, so I'm not really sure how you keep it all straight. Thank you very much. If there are no other comments or questions, we'll move on to new business. Our first item is Cienega High School Assistant Principal position, an action item. Mr. Kruth.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. Mrs. Penn.
President Pratt, Mr. Kruth, members of the board. I am so excited that I get to come back to you this board meeting with another story from the work that our committee did as we were preparing to bring a recommendation to this board for an assistant principal at Cienega. The assistant principal position at Cienega was vacated for the 2023-24 school year as Stephanie Magnuson transitioned from Cienega to Sahuarita as the new high school principal there. One of the areas of responsibility that Stephanie held as an AP at Cienega was oversight of instruction. And she was fabulously equipped for that because of her many years as a classroom teacher and as a student achievement teacher. And looking for the ideal, perfect candidate to step in behind the legendary leaders of curriculum at Cienega, Stephanie and Ms. Kim Middleton herself, was a very daunting task. It's our largest comprehensive high school. It provides instruction to over 2,000 students, depending on the year. And it's a place where that oversight of instruction is incredibly important. We had several fantastic candidates. Our committee met through June and July. I have listed the members on the background for you to look at. It embodies people from across the campus. We had a joint group that looked at positions for both Ben Smith-Dryden and this position at the same time. So we had people from the special ed area as well as the curriculum area. Ms. Anderson represented the board. I served on the committee. Ms. Middleton served on the committee. And we had intensive questions and deliberation, maybe some of the most intense deliberation that I have remembered in my service on these committees. And through that, we have come tonight to very happily recommend to you that Haley Thompson be placed in that position. I want to give you a little bit of information about Haley. Haley joined our Vail team in 2017 as an elementary teacher at Mesquite, where she taught second grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade. And before she joined Mesquite, she taught kindergarten outside of the Vail School District, which I think is one of the best preparations you can have for any position, because the amount of energy that it takes to keep up with a classroom of kindergartners, I think that it takes 2 hours of sleep for every classroom hour to recover. So I know that she has the energy for this job, is my point with that. During her time at Mesquite, she worked under the leadership of Diane Vargo. And during those 6 years, she distinguished herself as an instructional expert. She was an instructional team lead, a balanced literacy coach, a cognitive coach. She served on as a student council lead, and she was the administrative designee when needed. As a classroom teacher, Haley built strong relationships with students and parents, and she was among the most highly requested teacher on the Mesquite campus. In 2022, Haley transitioned to Cienega High School, where she served as the student achievement teacher and established herself as an effective leader and as someone whom staff are eager to work with. We heard many stories of support from staff members of how Haley not only rose quickly, but where she is currently in her leadership journey. She is someone that people love to work with. They can count on her. She makes them feel comfortable and they can approach her, and she's able to solve complex problems with outcomes that make those involved feel good. So we are quite happy. We'd also like to just give you a little bit of information about her educational background. Haley has her master's degree in curriculum and instruction. She finished that in 2015, and she is currently in the process of finishing her master's in educational leadership and expects to have that finalized by December of this year.
I'll go ahead and make the recommendation that the Vail School District Governing Board approve Haley Thompson as the assistant principal at Cienega High School effective July 26, 2023, as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Ms. Anderson,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Bester. Comments or questions? Ms. Anderson.
Yeah, I just want to share, it was just, I was thrilled to be on this committee. It's kind of been one of my favorite things. I really enjoyed it this summer doing this. Haley, I didn't know you before this. And if nothing else that you remember tonight, I hope you remember what Mrs. Penn said, but I hope you know how much love I felt for you from those in that room who knew you and worked with you. And they spoke so highly of you. And so I look forward to getting to know you. Obviously I'm on the school board, but I'm also a parent. And so one of those kids on that big campus is mine. And so thank you for the work that you're doing and that you're going to be doing. And I'm just excited for you. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions, Ms. Tippett?
I'm in the same boat as Mrs. Anderson, as I haven't known you or had a lot of interactions previous to this, but I have so much respect for the extensive process that we go through to find our leadership. So I'm excited for you to take on this role, and I'm also a parent. One of those kiddos is also mine, and I'm certainly thrilled to send him there and to be with your team that is there sitting with you today and your entire staff. So we wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you. Do you have anything?
Well, I was
You
just
wanna join
thinking,
in?
I should probably ring in. I'm a parent of a kiddo on the
That's-
and I'm also deeply grateful for your leadership. In all seriousness, I'm very excited. I just want to express that before the
Mhm.
vote's taken for you personally, Haley. I know you're here with your dad, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Jeff Thompson, who's and you've sat as I sat and learned from my family around a dinner table about what it means to participate in a profession. You've been able to do that with your dad, who's had a long and distinguished career as an educator and is currently the principal in Benson High School. So I just want to acknowledge that. And to all of you in that team, I was thinking about this over the weekend as this item was coming up. We opened Cienega High School in 2001, and we've had a long, wonderful history of assistant principals at that school. Every single assistant principal since we opened Cienega High School has gone on to be a principal later in their career. So no pressure. And two of those, that speaks highly to the quality of the people that we select for that position. It speaks highly to the preparation that a large comprehensive high school provides as a background. And it speaks volumes of the leader of that school who is mentoring and guiding people, and you're in great hands. Mrs. Middleton has already had 3 leave the nest as principals in her short tenure there. So.
Thank you, Mr. Kruth. Ms. Thompson, I just want to say congratulations and thank you for all of the preparation that you've put in your career to get you to this point. We're very excited. Congratulations. So with that, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries. Congratulations. So normally we have the candidate stand and introduce who you've brought. Mr. Kruth gave us a little hint, but you're welcome to stand and introduce your dad.
In August 2013, I moved to Vail from Ohio. It's a great takes a toll on it, but, not enough out there for, to get I brought this young kid, she didn't better not.
Great, congratulations.
Get in behind me.
Yeah,
Get- get behind
You
you.
guys are good.
Yeah,
It's good.
there
We're
you
just
go.
gonna stand behind you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll make sure we're all seen. You're good.
Take that with you, too.
Congratulations. Thank you, and thank you. You don't want me to. Oh, yeah.
Just
One more? Yeah.
One more?
One. Thank you. Again, congratulations. You are welcome to stay for the duration of the meeting, but you're also very welcome to scoot out right now if you'd like. We will go to our next item. Item B, this is a high school literature set or revised list. This is a study item, Mr. Carew.
Mrs. Penn.
President Pratt, Mr. Kruth, members of the board. This evening, I'm bringing back to the board as a study item, a book that was previously brought, but pulled and put on hold because we did not have copies of the book delivered in time for board members to review. So we're coming back to this book. It has gone through the process with our literature review committee, which is the first going to the ITL and then to the principal and then to the review committee where we put readers on that, discuss it. It has been recommended by the review committee, so it has gone to site councils. Site councils did not have any concerns with this particular book to bring to us. The title is We Have Always Lived in the Castle. So we're bringing it back this evening as a study item.
Thank you, Ms. Penn. Are there comments or questions? Mr. King.
Yes, I have had the opportunity to read this. It was actually a pretty decent book. There were only a few minor language issues in it. Had a little bit of dark overtone to it, but all in all, I think it will be well received in the curriculum.
Thank you, Mr. King. Other comments or questions? I just have a really quick comment, more generally. I just want to say that I was very, very impressed as a parent to start the school year. As we were reading the syllabus for my youngest son, they had all the books that they were going to read this year and the hot spots in each of them. And I was just really, really impressed with how well it was presented and communicated to me. So thank you for this process, Ms. Tippett.
That reminded me, thank you. Before my son even got home from school on the very first day of school, his high school English teacher had emailed our family with the permission slip for the reading that she was planning for this first semester. And I think my favorite thing about the permission slip is it talks about the standards that the teacher is hoping to cover by using this book in her curriculum. And I as a parent, I love being able to connect this aspect to, what is the purpose of what they're learning. And it was really helpful. We signed the permission slip and sent it back the very next day. And I think the process that we have put together is something I think all parents will appreciate.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? This is a study item, so if there's no other comments or questions, we'll move on to the next item. This is an RFQ 24-006-28 architectural services for the new elementary K-5 project. Mr. Kruth.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. Mr. Wood?
Thank you, Mr. Caruth, President Pratt, members of the board. As you well know, we have been underway with the committee working on the new school for Rocking K community. And part of that process was to start the RFQ, request for qualifications, to find an architect to assist us in the design of that K-5 or K-8 school, depending on how we choose to proceed. We followed the normal RFQ procedures and solicitations, and we had a committee of some great people. Meg Alder, who's a parent in the community, Sarah Bates, Mark Breen, Kevin Carney, Garrett Case, another community member and parent, Kate Robald, and then one of the employees of the school facilities division, David Shutt. They took the time, an entire week, reading through the 4 proposals that we received, decided to interview all 4 firms, and made their jobs very hard. They all 4 firms did a great job with their presentations, but at the end of the day, they settled on one of the firms, Swaim and Associates. So,
With that, I'll go ahead and make the recommendation that the Vail School District Governing Board award RFQ 24-006-28 for architectural services, new elementary K-5 project to the architectural firm Swaim and Associates, and also to authorize Superintendent John Caruth or Director of Facilities Jerry Wood to negotiate and execute the contract for this project as presented.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
Second,
Mr. King and Mr. Buster, comments or questions?
what were the other firms represented?
Mr. Wood
Mr. Caruth,
or Mr. Cruz?
President Pratt. Mr. Buster, a great question. Apologize for not saying that earlier. DLR Group, Orcutt Winslow, SPS Plus Architects, and Swaim and Associates. We have done work with SPS Plus and with DLR, who are 2 of our on-call architects as well.
Any additional questions, Mr. Buster?
If I could, what put Swaim over the top?
Mr. Cruz?
Mr. Wood. Thank you, Mr. Caruth, President Pratt, Mr. Buster. All 4 of the firms did an excellent job with their pamphlets that they turned in, as well as the interview process. At the end of the day, throughout the committee's discussions was the reputation and Swaim has proven time and again that what they say they're going to do, they do it. And they come alongside of us as a district and as a community to design and build our schools. So I think that there was more the trust factor of what we've seen them capable of doing and how they become partners alongside with us. Not to say that the other firms wouldn't be able to do that either, but it's been tried and true with what Swaim has done for us, for other schools in our district.
The procurement process, as you likely know, Mr. Buster, is very formulatic. There's a rating system that we must follow and go through that. And so it's based off of the proposals that are submitted and the interviews. And obviously, as Mr. Wood said, also just, what their larger body of work is within the community. So, and we've done work with all of those firms, including Orcutt Winslow. It's been a few years.
That's true.
But they actually were the architects for Corona Foothills.
Thank you.
The other piece of that, one last thing to add that I remember from the committee, Swaim was 100% local.
Mm.
Right down the road.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Mr. Buster?
No, perfect. I had the opportunity of participating on these particular boards and groups in the past, and more personal curiosity. So, but thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No? This is an action item. So with that, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Our last item is adjournment. So I will accept a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:06, actually 8:07 this evening.
I'll motion.
Ms. Anderson,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Bester. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Thank you so much.
Just in.